And we're live!
Hello, everybody.
Gonna wave. My camera's mirrored, so I'm kind of like, oh.
I know, it's like a different angle.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Pachinko by Min Jin Lee.
Oof. An exciting book, if you will.
Mm-hmm. An intense book.
Definitely. So,
stuff happened in that book.
Sophie's already read it once. I finished it in January. So, it wasn't bad. I gave it 4 stars. It's pretty good. It's definitely
It was my favorite release of 2020.
Yeah, it's definitely a very serious book. You know, it's like
Yeah, it's a family saga that follows a Korean family as they kind of, live their lives in a really tumultuous era. It was like the World War II era, and then a little bit beyond that, starting from, was it Japanese occupation of Korea?
Yes.
And like early to mid 1900s until I think it was 2000. It was 2010s when the book ended, but I don't exactly recall. Somewhere in that time. So pretty modern time. So it's a book that has like a big time period in it. A very thick timeline there.
Hi, Jamie. Welcome to the live show. We're talking about Pachinko. That was a weird wave.
Hey, Jamie. Jamie, hi! I didn't have the comments open. Okay, now I have them open. It's very exciting live stream stuff.
I know. It's really exciting when, especially when you're like a small channel or even like a book club, and then you like get a comment and
it's like, oh, thank you. I see the interaction. That's what it is. It's a very good book.
It is a good book. Yeah.
It's
definitely very serious, and like there are some things that are like
yeah. Oh my god. Especially near the I don't want to jump right to the end of the book when we're just at the beginning of the stream, but at the end of the book, that's when the most kind of the very sad stuff happens. Where it's kind of like, oh no. That's the stuff that's like freshest in my memory. That's where the trauma roots from.
I mean, I feel like in the beginning, it starts off really slow. Like, I wasn't really expecting a whole lot, which is probably why I was kind of close to DNFing it.
Really?
I was. But then I was like, okay, I'll stick through it. And then I decided that I was like, okay. And then everything became more serious. And I was like,
yeah, like the beginning of the book, I really liked the opening line. Wait, I highlighted it. It was like, history has failed us, but no matter. How correct am I on that? Let me check. I'm very correct. History has failed us, but no matter.
Very nice.
That's the line that really pulled me in, and I was kind of like, whoa. But then I do agree with you that the beginning is like really slow because the author writes really procedurally. Like her style is really blunt. There's not a lot of like flowery descriptions. It's just kind of like, oh, here's Hooney. He's cool. And then it's like, oh, there he is. How spoilery were we gonna get in this discussion?
I mean, it's a discussion. I mean, I feel like we can go as spoilery as we want. I feel, although Jamie has not read it, but it's fine.
Hey, I like the historical stuff too. I love the dense stuff, the world building kind of stuff. Priory of the Orange Tree type beat. Yes. Okay, it's a great book.
It was so good. I love when like a world is so detailed with its history. That's I think one of the parts where I was like, damn, that's intense.
Yeah. I really like the world building. Is it strange to call a historical novel good at world building? Like, because this is real life stuff, but then the way that she described it was kind of akin to like fantasy books being like, oh, this is the magic. But then when you do it in real life, when you do it with like historical fiction, it's all like, this is a fact.
Yeah.
That's one thing I think Pachinko did really well. That they had the through line of the family that we could keep up with, but then all around it, it was like a bunch of crazy stuff happening.
Yeah.
So, like, what did you think of the characters? For
The
one
characters. Definitely very interesting. Like, they all come from like a really small kind of poor family. I mean, they did really well for themselves, even though they were pretty poor, which is really impressive, to be honest. And then like, as it goes to like the older the most recent generations, it's like
yeah.
I don't know what to say. It's just emotion, you know. But then I like the integration between like going when our characters, which I forgot the characters' names. That's common with me. So
me too. No worries.
But like, I like the way they're like very. It kind of went from Korea to Japan, even though they like struggled to like. Maybe not adapt, but then like the people there were like, you know, obviously really mean to them. It's really, I don't know, it's like a different side of like people, I guess. And it's like, you know, if that made sense. I don't think it did.
That does make sense, yeah. That's like, it really revealed a lot about the way that like prejudice and especially the hostility that the Japanese people showed towards the Korean characters, the Korean people. How many characters are there? There are very many. Okay, there's like kind of like the point of view character is like Sunja, right? That she's the one where we mostly focus on for the book, but then around her there's like at the beginning, I know there was like, okay, my estimate for how many characters there are, I'm going to say more than 10, but less than 30 main characters, which is a range. But there's a lot of...
I feel like there are like 12-ish. I just feel like there weren't that many.
Range. Because, like, I know that there's, when we get to Japan, that's when the cast kind of narrows. Because we have Sunja and her husband, I forget his name. It's a Christian name.
He was like there. Oscar or something. Oh, no.
Something like, yeah, it was like a Western name.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So then him, and then the friends that they lived with, those two people whom I forget. But there are very many characters.
Yeah. So it was... It's basically just a whole family and like 3-4-ish generations in the story. So there are maybe 2, 4, I want to like maybe 8 in the generation that we see, like primarily. I don't even know.
Yeah, there was quite a few, but then like the way that was told was kind of like third person omniscient from what I remember, that we mostly saw events less than we saw like really deep introspection, which was good. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's just something that was in the book. Wait, Veronica, though, I have to ask, why 4 stars, like, specifically? It's a good rating, but like, I'm curious.
I mean, I just feel like the events, like, I love historical fiction and I love reading. Like, this is definitely something I would pick up in the future. It's just something that, like, took a lot of energy out of me while I was reading it, you know? And, like, it was definitely, there were some parts that were very, actually, like, the whole thing was very serious. And then, like, the events were like, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why specifically 4 stars. It's just that I didn't feel like it was my favorite book or something that I would pick up in the very near future. Mm-hmm. Maybe in the future if I decide to read it and like that, but then like it's not like something that I would pick up a second time. Yeah, if that makes sense.
I felt that. Yeah, like it is. There's a lot of content warnings for this book, that it does get pretty graphic at times, both with violence and like there's like some other gratuitousness, which I totally understand. It's not for everybody. And sometimes, especially at the end, when I think, was it his name's like Moses or something, the son, and
Noah.
Noah, wrong biblical figure. Yeah. Oh my god.
I added a Goodreads a Goodreads update, and I was like, oh my gosh, Noah. Like, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
OMG Noah. Like,
for him, I felt really bad for him because he really had been like kind of indoctrinated to think of himself as less than other people.
I know.
All the surroundings that he grew up in, and it was just really tragic what happened to him. I was like, and that ending.
I could not with that. I was also doing my end of the month reading vlog while I was reading Pachinko, so it was in that. And I had to delete this whole section of me just talking about that one part about Noah. Like, I don't know how long I had to delete so much though. I was like,
oh my goodness.
It's too much.
Yeah, it was really heartbreaking. And then like when his mom calls him, and then we're all like, yeah.
But like I felt so bad because like I mean, even though like he did have a good father, or I guess like stepfather, and like it's like I felt so bad because he thought it's like what you said, like him being like less than, even though he wasn't. It's like so sad.
It really
like, that ending, and the fact that he had to leave like just because he was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like,
yeah, like he was ashamed, and I was like, no, my guy, don't.
I don't know. It was really sad. I was like, you didn't have to go.
Yeah.
And like he had so much support, and like, I mean that, like, I mean, I guess I understood his anger about like not knowing who his father was, true father, and then it's like sad, but then like they could have resolved it like other people in real life do, I'm sure. So it was a little sad, but that ending, that if I don't remember anything about the book, I swear to God, that's the one that I am gonna remember.
It was a stunning ending. Well, I wouldn't say stunning as in like it's not action packed. It was a really quiet, personal moment, but that's what really stuck with me. And I was just like, it's the kind of book that when you're done with it, you just kind of stare at the wall and you're like, wow.
You know, I actually did stare at the wall.
Oh my goodness. It's like the biggest plot twist of this book was that I'm not even gonna lie. I say this, okay, this is not related to the plot or the story, but I say this in like my reading wrap up for my 2020 books. Like the author wrote another book called Free Food for Millionaires, and compared to Pachinko, that book was just not it. I don't know what was happening. I mean, I don't want to roast her. I don't want to roast her because like Pachinko is brilliant, at least the way I see it. But then it really confused me that Free Food for Millionaires was the way it was. I was like, because I think it's just her writing style is so blunt, and bluntness is really effective when you do it in like a historical fiction context, especially if it's dense. And she did that really effectively the author did that really effectively in this book, in Pachinko. But then with Free Food for Millionaires, which is like a more contemporary book, it just did not work out. It's like she kind of forgot what was happening. And you know what? Same. Me too. But
I saw a lot of promotion for the Free Food for Millionaires. I never read it though. But like
I don't recommend it.
Like I mean, I don't know how many books she's already published or if it's just Pachinko and Free Food for Millionaires, but I mean, I think I'm good with Pachinko at the moment. I think I'm good. Just a little break.
Yeah.
It was so much. I was like, after a while, and this one, this is accurate. The wall understood. I had to take just like the longest break before reading my third book, and I was like, it's like, it's so like in the beginning, I felt it was really light, and I was like, it was like, okay, don't know what I'm expecting. And then we reached like Japan, and then it's like,
Right.
it's
Right. I felt that so hard. Like it really goes like the book, I think a good way to describe it would probably be like stream of consciousness, where I mean, if I tried to recount the plot, that would be a mess because it was really like life. The book was just kind of sequence after sequence, and it was really relentless with that. You can't really trace like I don't know. I can't make a book report about this, and it was like, what was the plot? What was the hero's journey? I don't know, man. Things just happened, and they were all tragic. All these things.
I know. And like with the plot especially, it's all taken from like our whole thing is pretty much Sunji's, definitely saying that wrong, I don't even remember her name, like point of view, her life. But then we also get point of views with like her sons, and then like her mother in the beginning. So it's like you can't really count all like of like the plot because each person has like their own plot, so it's like you really can't kind of count,
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm saying right now.
Oh no, you're making sense. That's good. Yeah. Like, what's his name again? The last generation. Was it Solomon? I think it was.
Yeah.
Solomon, bro. His like weird relationship with his stepsister, kind of. I can understand why that alone would really turn people off of the book. That was not cool. I don't want to think about that.
I mean, like, definitely like stepsister like is not that bad, I guess, because it's not like entirely incest, but then it's just the way things went about with that relationship that was like, what in the world is happening? It's like it was so over the like all over the place, and it's like it just felt really weird and awkward the whole time I was reading it. So sometimes I would actually skip kind of where they were talking about like the Solomon and the stepsister. It was just like, okay, I want to move on kind of thing. It was just really weird.
For a little context for those of y'all who like are okay with spoilers and kind of want to know what's going on, they have like a kind of dubious consent romantic relationship, if it can be called romantic at all. And it is rather manipulative, and the fact that they are like step siblings is kind of okay, not comfortable. And like I just question why that was included at all. I know that I do love the book, but I also wonder, like, was it necessary? I mean, life is complex, and that was certainly a complex situation. But then again, this is a story in which choices were made. I was like, it's kind of a little strange. It's just a topic of discussion. Maybe the author included that just for the discussion, and the discussion is I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah. So going back to this quote from Jamie, they didn't actually know each other until maybe he was like 16ish years old, because that's like when their parents, his father and mother and her mother met. But then it's like, I kind of like, just like what you're saying, the way they went about with the relationship, she was constantly like asking for money, and then she was just really interested in like drugs and sex kind of thing. And then like he was super sweet. I mean, I honestly don't remember him at all. But then, it's like just all over the place. It's like kind of the relationship that like, it's kind of toxic, that kind of relationship, which is why I was like, kind of want to move on from this kind of thing.
Now, luckily, that relationship, like with all its problems, I will also mention that like I think he was a minor, and then she was like veering towards adulthood. They were like, he was probably like 14, and she was like 17, 18.
I think she was already 18.
Yeah, 18.
Yeah.
And he was like 14, between 14, 16, and that was like not cool, but it's not, that wasn't like the focus of his story nor her story, and it wasn't really the focus of the book at all. Like the book was a lot of puzzle pieces. That was just a little corner piece, a little like what how should I call it? Like like in a puzzle like in a puzzle box of a puzzle, and then you got that one defective piece. It's the defective piece, the one that like it doesn't really fit, but it's there,
Yeah.
and you gotta acknowledge it. So like
Yeah.
that's definitely one thing that would make the like people really uncomfortable with the book. And what was his name again? The Yakuza guy who Sunja was in a relationship with at the beginning.
Hansu.
Hanzu. Yeah, like their relationship too is also very, very problematic. And because he was an adult and she was a teenager, and there was a really unbalanced power dynamic. And like I know that the author was making commentary when they were writing this book about the power dynamics in the relationships. I'm sure that they meant the commentary, but there were times when I wondered, what is the commentary? What do you mean by this?
Like in the beginning with Sunji's and Hansu's relationship, like she was a teen and he was already married as well, and he had like 2 children. So it's like a big mess.
It's like the thing that really did pull together the story though, because even though it had a lot of that really, I would call it like explicit content, problematic content certainly, was that there was a really good emotional through line, even though it was really written kind of bluntly, kind of instructionally, maybe even, but even with that, like you were really well acquainted with the main characters, with the protagonists, especially Sunja and her son and Noah and everyone. So like you were like, I felt close with that. Oh my god, JV, no, I love these chats.
Yeah, don't worry.
They spark joy in me, indeed. Don't worry.
It like creates interaction as well, so.
Mm-hmm. And that's always good with book club discussions. It's meant to be a discussion. So then, like, sharing your opinions. Everything that I am saying is an opinion, by the way. I am opining. This is not a fact.
Yeah.
And also, my memory is hazy about what the book was about. So there's that as well.
Yeah, same. I mean, even though I read it more recently, I forget like every single book. Like in all my videos, I'm like, okay, first off, I forgot this person's name. And that's pretty much like, I swear every video I do, it's like, that's all I have to say in the beginning. It's like, I forgot their names.
Same. I was like, it's kind of difficult for me to like justify why I rate the books. Like, like 5-star on a 5-star scale, like why I like these books. Sometimes it just has a good vibe and I'm like, oh, I liked it. And other times I'm just kind of like, I don't know. It was good. So it's kind of like, especially with this book, that its density kind of does impact how I remember it. Where the most shocking scenes, kind of like the shocking relationships, are the ones I remember the most, because I'm kind of like, oh, this book was
on
so
my shocking and kind of messy and bad that you remember it.
Exactly. I'm kind of like, oh yeah, but at least you remember parts of it. Like the books that you don't remember anything about, and you're just kind of like, that was a blur. Those are the kind of books where I'm like,
No, like sometimes even my 5-star favorite books, I forget their names, and sometimes like what happens sometimes. So it happens to the best of books for me, and then suddenly I remember like for my 1-stars or my books that I DNF, like I remember everything, and it's unnecessary.
Like the specific scenes. Sometimes you get your favorite series. I'm like, what was the protagonist's name?
Yeah.
What did they want? Because I guess books, like, they leave most everything to the imagination. And my imagination is very limited and very foolish. So it's like, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what's going on, but the vibes are good. So 5 stars. There you go. You should read it. Slap that on Goodreads.
Yeah, and I think this one, no. Jamie, I used to rate a lot of my books 4 or 5 stars, and this was before I joined BookTube. I used to rate it pretty high as well, but then once I joined BookTube, I was like, I actually started like going about how I felt. And like even though I had like my blog, like I would still rate it like high because I was like and then like now though, I'm like super honest. Probably too honest.
Honesty's good though, especially with books or like literature.
Yeah, like especially like if you don't like a book, like one thing I've heard in like either a video or posts, like even just writing the smallest Goodreads review is like really helpful for the people interested in the book. So like for all my books that I've read, I write like probably like one tiny paragraph. This is probably unnecessary, but like yeah, and like you don't have to like be a reviewer or anything, or you could just read books, but then like I don't know, it's helpful.
Yeah, I think it's probably after I joined BookTube or around then, like beginning of the pandemic type beat thing, where like I started looking at books more critically. Like Pachinko is a perfect book to look at critically because even though it like covers a lot of graphic topics and a lot of historical topics that you can really look at with a critical lens. And ever since like BookTube was kind of like, hey, maybe you should think about the stuff that you read. I was like, whoa, really? And then I like my average rating on Goodreads started getting lower and lower because I'm thinking about like, hey, that's something. There are things to consider. There are ideas.
No, I used to have like a 4 something rating, like overall rating on Goodreads. I now have a 3.9. I mean, that's still pretty good. But then it's like from all the 1-2 stars that I rate it, like especially after I joined BookTube in like March, April, that's when I started going down.
Yeah. And it's like there's always something to love about like every single book that I read, but like even the 1 stars and the 2 stars, but then it's like there's always something else in the back of my mind that's like, there's something wrong here. And even, like I rated it 5 stars, but I do think that it has problems. It was just like overall, I was like, okay, it was good. I loved it.
You can find, I think, my Goodreads down below, but I'll link it if I can. My typing's bad right now.
You can find my Goodreads like on my channel because I'm not sure how to leave comments on here. Yeah, like copy paste what Veronica just put in the chat, except replace that with Kaayo. Kaayo. That's my Goodreads.
I wrote YouTube. Wait, don't do that one because it was YouTube. There it is.
Works too. Yeah, my YouTube. Yeah. In case y'all want it, is just my name, Sophie Ligaya de la Cruz. Wait, I need to point at it. There, right there in the red box. That's my YouTube. Yeah.
I think that should be it.
There we go. Yeah.
Obviously, mine is.
We are present inside. Oh, but Jay, good comment. Yeah. I don't know how to pin it. Oh, there we go.
Don't worry. Like you just click it, I think.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. I agree. Me with Sharknado, you know? Like I've also considered reading the Twilight series because I genuinely enjoy the movies for what they are, for what they're trying to achieve. And I feel like those are going to be like at least a spiritual 5-star for me.
No, so I read Twilight, the whole series, in middle school. And I liked them. I liked the books because like I actually did not like the movies. Like a lot of people did. But then I like the books because the books are better, you know? And like I plan, because I was middle school and I used to be Team Jacob, and
oh my gosh, I'm Team Jacob too.
So I want to reread it because I have Midnight Sun and I have not read that yet because I plan to reread Twilight, but I haven't gone to that yet. But I actually do want to read. Like people hate on Twilight, but if they read the books, then I feel like they would have like a better opinion like instead of like just looking at the movies.
Yeah, from what I know, like Twilight is perfectly passable, even at times good YA, and it's like it's YA. It's not there to be revolutionary.
Yeah.
Like Pachinko, though, bringing it back to Pachinko from Twilight, it's got like the vibes of Pachinko. It's definitely like I guess the way to describe it is like it's trying to make an impact, which is a good thing. I'm not saying that as a detriment to the book, but it's definitely a kind of book that's like, oh, you're saying something. But like, my only criticism of it is that sometimes the message was kind of blurred by the shock value, pretty graphic scenes that didn't necessarily have to be that graphic. But you know, what can you do about that? They're making an adaptation of it, of Pachinko. I think it's gonna be like a drama. I'm not sure if it's gonna be a movie or something, but I know it's like there's a company, a Korean company that's gonna be making it to be transporting it onto screen, which I'm very intrigued to see how they're gonna do that.
There are so many movies and TV shows coming out because of COVID-19. Like so many like book adaptations. Like I mean, I'm excited for that, but then it's like there are so many during this time. It's like
oh my gosh, I tip my invisible hat to all of the writers and the creators. Like, and they're making things like right now and releasing things. That must be so difficult. So I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah,
and like even just at like trying to find actors and actresses like during COVID-19, like just trying to be like, you know, protective and everything. It's like that's a lot of work.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's always like the precautions that you should take during this time, and then you have to like work around that. So, you know, applause for all of the creators right now. All of the people who started YouTube channels in March.
I was like, I had a YouTube channel back in the days, back when I was a little young one. It's embarrassing. I mean, I'll talk about it all the time. It's like this crafting channel.
I respect the grind. Yeah.
And like, it's like, and then I didn't even ever plan on doing another YouTube channel until like I got so bored during COVID-19 and doing online school that like during online school, I would put my computer like on top of this ledge I have on my table. And then I would have a book or my iPad below that. And I was like, okay, I have to have something to do. I didn't even plan on creating my YouTube channel, but then I did. And then I created my book club, and then here we are. So it's
both your book club and your YouTube channel, they're prime. They're wonderful.
Yes.
It's good that you made them.
I know.
Yeah, it was kind of the same for me. Like in March, I was like, I'm so sad and bored. And then I was like, might as well make a YouTube channel. And I was like, might as well write a book. So I was like, yes.
Because I have not had time to write, because I like to write too, but I have not had at all any time to write since like the summer of last year.
Still, I mean, when you do return to writing, you've got a lot of content. Like, Pachinko, I heard that writing this book, it took the author a while, which...
Yeah, I heard it took like a few years.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's dedication. I don't think I have ever, besides school, let's like save for school stuff, I don't think I have ever stayed on a personal project for like more than 6 months. So it's like absolutely wild that Min Jin Lee, brilliant Min Jin Lee, created this book. And there's probably a lot of research that went behind it too, especially since it covered the specific time period that it covered. It's like, can't relate. Imagine doing that. Imagine researching.
I know. Like for me, I'm just the worst at. I love reading about history outside of a history classroom, but even just writing something that is in a time period like Pachinko, I could not for the life of me do that. for some reason. Like, I enjoy reading these types of books with so much history, but then if I just try doing it myself, I don't think I ever would.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, me too. It's like I find it really fun to like read and like research history, but to do it in like a fiction setting where you have to make sure like, oh, you gotta make sure your characters act in the way that people in this time period might have acted. So that's research. You got to make sure that like their semantics and that their colloquialism is all like in the time period. So it's like, okay, that's something else you got to look up. Make sure they're wearing like maybe like they're not wearing sneakers in the 1940s.
Yeah, and like the language, like the technology and everything, if they had technology, and just so many like things you have to incorporate that are like kind of tiring.
Mm-hmm. And then you have to make sure it's correct. Like, imagine doing all this research on like a historical time period, and then it turns out you were just wrong the whole time, or your sources were unsound. That's rough. Yeah. Back to the revision board. Oh my gosh, Jamie, good luck on your thesis.
Good luck. I'm like, for me, I'm writing a mini thesis because I'm doing a research study, and it's so tiring. So I feel you on it. I'm like a little bit behind on my own thing. It's tiring.
Good luck, y'all. Y'all can do it. I believe in y'all. Like right now, right now, my school stuff is just kind of, I don't know, working for AP classes. It's been very slow but very fast at the same time. Like, kind of like this book. Tangent back into Pachinko. Like, the pacing, though. I do understand when people are like, the pacing is kind of strange. I think it's just the scope. That it's like 100 years. It's a long time. 4 whole generations. And then it's gonna, and I think that the writer tries to allot an equal amount of time to each of those generations and to each of her characters, but then sometimes it's kind of like, okay, we're favoring one period or another, which is like totally understandable. But that's just probably a trapping with multi-perspective stories. Like, I love reading books where it's like so obvious that this is like a character favorite. I mean, a writer favorite. Like, this character is just like the writer's like baby.
I could not tell with Pachinko if there even was a favorite character.
I think it was probably like, I wouldn't say Sunja, because like Sunja was just like the natural like through line because they needed something to follow. They needed someone to follow, but like, it was probably just like the bonus. But I'm like me flipping through my e-reader right now, like. I have a lot of bookmarks. I wonder why.
My iPad as well.
Mm-hmm. This is cool. I liked. I'm trying to think about the ending of the story, or like the last third. Decisions were made. Going back at the beginning with Hansu. I don't know.
Probably not. Not him. You know, his character, like, I was not expecting him at all. Like, I knew he was, like, rich and he lived in Japan, but then, like, towards when they arrived in Japan and then everything, it's like, it was, like, a total character change. Like, he, like, really changed. Or he didn't. But then the way he was, like, portrayed is, like, totally different. I was like, oh, okay.
Maybe it was geography. I think it also, like, I kind of like that transition because it was kind of like how like the way that Sunja saw him was really different. Like when she was younger, she was like, "Oh, this perfect knight in shining armor who's
innocent and like new to things." Yeah.
Oh my god, Jamie calling me out in the comments. Kaayo's the protagonist for the book that I wrote, and it's like, yeah, he's the protagonist though.
Love that.
It's like, the author did put a lot of care into her characters, though I think it is really notable that sometimes they do kind of blend together because it's just the book is long. It's no fault of the author or the characters. I think the characters were all really vibrant and well done, but it's just a super long book, and it's like it's kind of like, it's along the lines of the Poppy War, where it's like, oh, you love it, but it's very intense, and it's a reading slump kind of book. We'll see you, Jamie. We'll see you then.
Yeah. For me, so with my old phone, because my old phone is slightly smaller than my current phone, and like my thing was 900 pages on Libby.
That's a lot of pages.
It's a lot.
Mine's 1,161, but that's because my text is large. My eyes are blind. Look at that. So it's like, it's pretty big. So
like for me with Pachinko, I made my words really small just so maybe I could actually read it faster. But for me on my phone, I'm on like the second to last one. Hold up, it's gone.
Oh.
Hold up, it's too dark.
No worries.
This is the last one.
Oh man, that is like, yeah. It's long
because I as well am pretty blind. We're just a bunch of pretty blind people.
My glasses are super thick. I don't know if y'all see it, but my glasses are also very filthy. But that's on me.
Oh yeah, mine too. Like I don't know. I just get lazy when I wipe my glasses. But then it like once you wipe it, it's like really nice.
You know what kind of representation I need in books? I need thick glasses, thick and filthy glasses representation in books. I think Pachinko had some glasses representation in the later generations, but it was not specified whether the glasses were also filthy. So that is a comment that I'm going to make.
Character description: thick, filthy glasses.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's diversity.
Instead of the clean ones, everything is clean. It's like only dirty.
Exactly.
And then like once in a while there'd be just a little bit of cleaning, but then it's like only dirty.
Exactly. True to life. Like, oh my god. I'm reading I'm not reading, but like skimming through the parts where Hansu and Sunja just kind of like initiate their relationship, and I'm like, oh, no, she really thought. It's like, I mean, it wasn't her own fault because she was young, but she really thought that he was gonna risk it all for her.
I know.
I feel bad.
Welcome back, Jamie. Welcome back.
Oh, I remember too that I read a short story by Min Jin Lee because she had one like available on her website, and it was like I think it was Solomon's birthday or something like that. But it was a short story that included a section of Pachinko, and I wonder if that was how the story was incarnated. That like she started off like making short stories, and then she just kind of was like, you know what, this would make a really great book. Because like parts of it do feel a little bit like episodic, especially when you get like perspectives from like the characters that aren't exactly primary, but they still get their own like section there. They have their own chapter or highlight.
I feel like we didn't get enough of Solomon, even though he was the last generation to be like mentioned. We only got him until like I don't even know when, but like I feel like we just didn't see enough of him, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Like we got his childhood briefly, and then like it was like his childhood was more like highlighting how he was young, and then he was realizing like, oh, we get discriminated against in Japan because we're Korean, which is like not good, but I would have wanted to see more of his character. And then we like skip over like his college years, and then we go right into when he's like graduated, and he's like, I want to
work and everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like he could have been a good character.
Mm-hmm. But I mean,
probably like not my favorite character because of like the whole thing with his like childhood and everything.
Yeah,
but then like I wish we saw him more.
Me too. I remember he had a conflict with his girlfriend, who I think was like Korean American.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I don't remember what the
Japanese American, I think.
Yeah, was she? Maybe. She was definitely Asian American.
Yeah.
I think her name was Phoebe. I will need to hold on, let me look it up. If her name is Phoebe, I'm gonna high five myself. Her name is Phoebe! That's a high five. But yeah, there was a conflict there, but I don't remember the conflict.
Yeah, and then I think they actually broke up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did.
I think it was because he went and helped his stepsister, and then they're like conflict, and then I was like, okay, bye bye, and then it's like, oh,
yeah.
I think he ended up finding someone. I mean, I don't remember who, but then like someone.
I remember that vaguely, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like looking at like all the mentions of Phoebe in the book, and I'm like, okay, that was a thread. But like this was kind of like a rags to riches story.
It was.
You started from the bottom. Now we here.
That's true. I mean, they're still not that well off, especially with like Sunja, but then like Noah and I forgot the brother's name, and Solomon. They were both pretty well off in the end. So yeah, it was definitely very rags to riches-ish. So yeah, definitely a glow up for the family.
For sure. So I'm like, hey, you went through all this trouble, maybe have a little bit of money. God. I'm like looking through it. Oh yeah, one thing I will add too, in case y'all do want to read this book, a good place to find all of like the content and trigger warnings of this book is a website that I absolutely love, which is Book Trigger Warnings. I think that the URL is booktriggerwarnings.com. I will have to double check on that. But that website provides like, I sound like we're being advertised or sponsored. We are not. Squarespace.com provides the best tools for creating a website.
Okay, I'm gonna assume it's this one because I did indeed do this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. That's the URL for the website. It's in the chat. But yeah,
I've never heard of this ever. That is cool.
It doesn't have every book, and I'm sure that it skips over some other things too, because they make the disclaimer on the front page where it's like, this is a fan operated forum, so then some things won't be accurate and some things might be like missing. But for the most part, they have like a really good list of trigger warnings for a lot of books, including Pachinko, I'm pretty sure. So
let's search that. Pachinko. By Min Jin Lee.
Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure they have Pachinko, but if they don't, I don't know. But, like, it's a resource. Oh, RIP.
Pachinko. They don't.
RIP! Well, it's a popular book. They should. Maybe we can, like...
Yeah, they don't.
Get it.
I mean, if you're looking for a specific book, maybe you can search that. But then also, Goodreads... There are reviews where they actually mention the trigger warning, so that's also a good place to go to. So
I always appreciate it whenever
I know
warnings. Just
I'm afraid to put trigger warnings just in case maybe I added something wrong or maybe I didn't add any of the ones mentioned. So I'm like, I just don't put trigger warnings ever.
Yeah, I usually try to include trigger warnings, but I know that I'm gonna like miss some. Or maybe I'll be like, that wasn't in the book. I'm just remembering it wrong.
Yeah. It's like a weird fear of mine. Just like, did I add that? Did I see that? And then it's like, but yeah, there are like quite a few trigger warnings that I didn't even know the trigger warnings. I pretty much went into Pachinko pretty blind. So it's like, fresh or new. It was very interesting. I feel like probably back to the question you were asking me earlier, why I gave it 4 and not 5 stars. It's probably because of it was pretty messy, in my opinion. It was a little bit messy. Everything was kind of all over the place. And it was just something I mean, as a person, I like everything neat and orderly, but Pachinko is kind of all over the place.
Yeah, that really, I think it's like a characteristic probably of this writer, because like her debut book, Free Food for Millionaires, the biggest criticism for that one was that it was absolutely messy. It was just like my room right now. It's all scattered. It's like, but that's definitely something that carries over in Pachinko. Pachinko is like more, I would say refined. I would say neater than her debut book. So if you like, but like, yeah, if you thought that this book was messy, you'd probably think that Free Food for Millionaires is a disaster. But you know what? I'm gonna try not to compare those two books, but it just kind of astounds me how.
What did you give Free Food for Millionaires?
I gave it like, I was like riding on the high of Pachinko because I was really intrigued by Pachinko. So then I read Free Food for Millionaires immediately after. So at first I gave it 2 stars, which I lowered to 1 star because it was a mess. There was a part of that book that book like briefly attempted to be contemporary fantasy, and then it just went right back to contemporary. Like it forgot the fantasy part, and I was like, I wonder what that was about.
I mean, I definitely feel like I want to read this. Oh, here you go. I have found your rating.
Yes. My thick paragraph kind of like, yeah, it was a 2-star read at first because I like the author. I love the author, you could say. but the story itself was just kind of simply put not it. Oh, mood, Jamie. That's just what my life is like, LMAO. Me too. What did I say? I'm gonna look at that. Like at the end, especially, it was just so. And like the descriptions were at some points gratuitous, and I did not appreciate that. But some people might read it if you'd like. Read Pachinko if you'd like. I give Pachinko my highest recommendations, but I also give it like the warnings there, that just in case, because it is really, really intense. I'll have to go in a couple minutes, but this was.
It has been on. Yeah, definitely.
Like, this was great. This was awesome.
I know, it definitely was. And Jamie, thank you for keeping us going.
Thanks for keeping our chat lively. You're the chat king. Yeah, I always love talking about books with you, Veronica.
Oh, me too. You're so lively. I think that's really.
Yeah, this was really fun. And I enjoyed your comments, Jamie.
I know. So many questions. Great questions.
I hope this discussion led y'all watching at home to want to read the Pachinko book.
I know. Even though we did say a lot, but I feel like there's also a lot that we left unsaid that definitely needs to be read. So
for sure. So yeah, that's this stream.
And there will be more. We have book club discussions every month.
Indeed. We need to describe. Did we decide our book for next?
I always do it after the live show of the previous. So our next one is March. I'm excited. I don't know what book, but we leave that for the public to decide.
That's right.
It's going to be very interesting.
The poll on our Twitter.
Yeah.
Get our Twitter handle, but it has to do with Asians under a typhoon. And we'll definitely, when we send out that poll, y'all.
Oh, hold on. I don't even know if I got the Twitter right. I might be wrong.
It's an acronym.
Oh wait, no.
I'm remembering correctly. I'm not sure.
There you go. That's
right. On Instagram as well. I think it's the same thing. I can't even remember my own handles at times. Thank goodness they're always tagged.
Yeah, the last one, the Under a Typhoon. I don't know if I can. Oh, there's no delete, but it's this one. This is our Twitter handle. This is where all of our announcements, things happen. Our Instagram is here too, but this time I actually don't remember our Instagram, so I actually have to go there.
Let me look. Oh, I think it's AUATBC,
Oh, yeah.
Asians That Are Typhoon Book Club. So there's that as well.
This is the one. This is our Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Be sure to keep up with those.
Yes.
Oh, and like if y'all take pictures of the books that we're reading, we will repost them.
That's right. So
Instagram.
We posted 2 or 3 Pachinkos, but I think for our next live show, we'll definitely do more advertising.
That's right.
It's going to be very fun.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be very fun. But yeah, Twitter is like our poll. So if you want to go and select what you guys want to read for March, it will happen there. 100%.
That's right. I'm so ready. It's like, y'all choose one that's like nice, y'all. Don't choose another emotionally devastating one. Let March be a nice springtime time. Like, try to find a fluffy one. I don't know. If y'all choose emotional devastation, I'm down for that too.
I think this is like our 3rd book in a row, because for December we had the Poppy War. January we had the Sword of Kaigon, and then this time we had Pachinko. So definitely have to choose something that's like, it's gonna be very fun. I'm really excited. But thank you guys so much for coming. I had so much fun. I'm gonna get rid of that. Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. I can't do that.
Wait, yeah, just like that. That's perfect. Gotta have the little loops.
Hold up.
You can do like yes! Oh my god, yeah.
Close.
Perfect. That's beautiful.
But thank you guys so much for coming. We'll see you guys on our Twitter for our poll. Bye, guys.
Indeed.